Infrastructure is another critical issue. Broken doors prevent us from securing violent inmates, and with only one working elevator, response times suffer, leaving us vulnerable.
Hudson herself told us about the doors after she first took office, yet they remain a problem.
In this particular pod, 1 Delta, the doors are slide. So now if you slide the door open and leave it open, which you're not supposed to do, then you give the inmates an opportunity to jimmy the door, to put stuff on the track and try to get it off the track.
Good, man. It's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever changed my life. This is the Incarceration.
All right, good afternoon. This is State of Florida versus Stephen Testa with multiple cases before the court.
Forever Convict family, listen, we are on a journey to 50,000 subs. We are over halfway there. So if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Share this channel with anybody who enjoys prison content. And if you don't know my story, I've done over 12 years in prison. And all throughout my incarceration on this channel, I share the crazy, funny, goofy, weird prison stories, as well as interviewing other convicts and sharing their stories as well. But most importantly, we highlight the redemptive stories of convicts coming home, leaving their past lifestyle of crime, and now living successfully in society.
What's going on? It's your boy E.I. the King, and today we got an update for you when it comes to those who were incarcerated in the state of Louisiana. I believe it was in the city of New Orleans, and they escaped. So I'm sure you probably already been following this, but we got a huge update for you and some truth about escaping facilities, whether it be jail or prison, that you probably never heard of, and particularly when it comes to this situation right here. So we're going to go ahead and do a reaction video to this content first, but y'all make sure that y'all stay to the very end to hear the truth that you probably never heard about when it comes to this escape, as well as many others from prisons and jails. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Nearly a full week since a massive jailbreak at the Orleans Parish Justice Center, and evidence is only now being processed from inside the cell, where 10 inmates were able to cut a hole and make that escape you see right there. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sharice Gibson.
And I'm Katie Moore. Right now, those 5 inmates are still on the run tonight. After that historic escape, Sheriff Susan Hudson was quick to point out that she's been warning about the conditions of the jail.
Now, multiple investigations into who knew what and when are giving the public a glimpse into exactly what's been going on inside.
And most alarming, we learned that just 36 staff members were responsible for securing around 1,400 inmates.
It gives a better place to work. It's much cleaner, and I mean, you be able to control the inmates a little bit better and meet the needs. You have less incidents here because you have the deputy actually stationed on the pod.
You have deputies stationed.
That's actually a very nice kind of jail. Looks like it's brand new, super clean. And if you don't know, bro, like all throughout the nation, prisons and jails are all understaffed. So 36, staff for 1,400 inmates, you know what I mean? Well, convicts, I don't like to use the term inmates, is very common.
Stationed on the pod. That was a win for the Orleans Sheriff's deputies back in 2015 when they moved into the brand new Orleans Justice Center. But fast forward a decade and we hear at times there are no deputies on the pod. Like last Friday when 10 inmates being held on the most serious charges escaped.
At the time of the incident, there was no deputy physically on Pod 1 Delta, and the technician that was assigned to the housing unit module had actually stepped away to grab food.
Staffing is critically low at the sheriff's office, and that's not a problem unique to OPSO. It's a nationwide problem. But there have been red flags flown about how critically low OPSO's jail security staff has been, including from Sheriff Susan Hudson's own deputies.
Some night, one of my colleagues, they manage an entire floor by themselves due to chef stars shortages.
An entire floor. Former Sheriff Marlon Gussman knows exactly what that means.
It's really alarming to me. It certainly should not be. We built and designed this facility as a direct supervision facility, which means that the deputy is in the housing unit, so that you would have to have a deputy in each housing unit, and then you have the monitoring technician overlooking 2 pods.
Each pod.
If you don't know what he means by that, so apparently in this county jail, there's 2 pods and like a dorm. And in the middle of the 2 pods is a control room. And that's where the technician, the officer in the booth, he hits all the buttons to roll the doors, and it pretty much has all the security cameras in there that he can see and monitor. So you got one officer in the bubble, in the officer station right here in the middle. And you got two pods on the side, housing convicts on each side, all in one big dorm. And when they're saying they only had 1 officer on the floor, that means they only had 1 officer for that entire building. When that guy was saying like, it was designed to have an officer sitting in the day room, like of each pod, so they're supposed to have 3, 1 in each pod and then 1 in the control room. But here they're saying they only had 1 on the entire floor.
Can house up to 60 inmates. There are 6 pods on most floors.
We work long hours.
Deputy Daquan Johnson was speaking at the city council budget hearing for the sheriff's office.
Excuse me, there's 6 pods on 1 floor and 1 dorm.
Last October, Hudson's staff told the council then there was a 45% vacancy rate for jail deputies. Corrections expert John Schaefer is a career corrections leader in Pennsylvania.
What percentage do you not want to go below in terms of vacancies in order to maintain a secure facility?
I would never want to go below 10%. There's no standard rule of thumb. I mean, ideally, every correctional executive worth his or her salt would want to be at full staffing at all times, but that's not really realistic.
Not only does the sheriff lack staff overall, but the jail is manned mostly by women. You can see here, 76.4% of the jail staff is female.
And I know they mentioned we have 71% females. The deputy that's running that whole floor by herself is a female. We're outnumbered, and the risk is real.
The federal court overseeing the jail to bring it up to constitutional housing standards has been aware of the staffing problem for some time. The latest report issued for that consent decree last fall reads, quote, during the frequent site visit.
No offense to that guy who was just speaking, the deputy, whoever was like on court, making a statement. I don't know if he was just nervous for public speaking or if that boy is just nervous because that whole county jail's under fire. I think I remember when this first happened, I think it was the second day, the sheriff didn't even show up to the press conference. And they're like, yo, where's the sheriff? And they're like, we don't know. She's at the jail getting things in order. It's like, nah, she's probably just tired of being under fire. You know what I mean? Everybody's mad at them.
Visits by the monitoring team, more often than not, there continue to be housing units and control rooms with no staff, including supervisors present. The excuse is often given that staff were assigned but either failed to report to duty or their presence is unknown. But the repeated warnings about security risks at OJC didn't stop at staffing. Infrastructure is another critical issue. Broken doors prevent us from securing violent inmates, and with only 1 working elevator, response time suffer, leaving us vulnerable. Hudson herself told us about the doors after she first took office, yet they remain a problem.
In this particular pod, 1 Delta, the doors are slide. So now if you slide the door open and leave it open, which you're not supposed to do, then you give the inmates an opportunity to jimmy the door, to put stuff on the track and try to get it off the track. So the door should be opened, let somebody out, or let somebody in, and then closed.
And we reached out to Hudson's office with questions about this story, including how often those pods are not staffed with deputies, but we didn't hear back in time for this report.
All right. So first of all, I apologize for not covering this sooner. I know it's been the whole rave of YouTube and the news and throughout the nation, and especially me being a prison content creator. I'm supposed to be on top of this stuff before anybody else. But man, life is life, and I've been freaking busy, dog. My schedule's been insane. Had a few events the other week. Obviously, you can hear my voice is gone. But let's go ahead and just briefly overview what took place if you're unaware. So here at this county jail, this parish county jail in New Orleans in Louisiana, 10 convicts escaped. If you roll back, that last clip that we watched, you could see, some convicts, pulling on the door. So for those of you who never done time, it's easy to jimmy and to freaking pop those doors that are the roll ones. Pretty much all you got to do is take some toothpaste tubes, put them in the track, or take the toothpaste caps and put them inside, like when the door closes, because it won't catch the lock. And like it can show on the thing that it's locked, but you can just push it back. You know what I mean? It's super easy. There's a million different ways you can do it. So it's easy to jimmy those doors. People do it all the time. But a lot of officers, who are, convicts themselves, who've done a lot of time as officers, they like to walk and close the doors themselves so they can see, make sure people aren't jimmying them. But a lot of, like, as you can see, they're short staffed. They don't have time to do that, so people just do it really just to slide out, go get water and hot water from the water fountain in the spigot, or to slide other people's cells, or go crash somebody, or whatever they're trying to do to not be locked in the cell. Some jits is doing it just because they're trying to rebel and wild out. So, but that's not how they escaped, Once again, I haven't been following this fully, but I'm going to share some truth with you that you probably never heard. So obviously, these 10 convicts, they had dug this hole, however long they were replacing the stuff behind the toilet, and they all escaped, and we've been seeing the news reports daily that a lot of these guys are getting caught. Some of them are going live on Instagram or doing videos, and, police are just running down on them. And I believe it was like the governor or the mayor or somebody in the city had put out like $10,000 on every convict's head as a reward to people who would snitch and call the hotline and give them anonymous tips or whatever to help these, people, these escaped fugitives, the convicts, get caught. So they got a $20,000 bag on each one of their heads. So these people are getting caught left and right. But I'm gonna go ahead and share with you what you probably never realized when it comes to jail and prison, and when it comes to crime in jail or prison. So obviously, if you are from the streets, or if you dibble-dabbled in the streets, or just by, knowing people who are in the streets, we know that in crime, there's a whole bunch of snitching. You know what I mean? People are scared of getting caught. They're scared of time, so they snitch on the co-defendants. They snitch on other people trying to get out of the trouble that they're in. They're breaking the code, they're snitching, they're telling. But not only is that predominant and huge in the streets, and especially nowadays, man, like it's like the norm, it's common for people to do so, but that's even more rampant in prison and jail. And, out here in society, when it comes to like paperwork and like law, you got like documented documents of statements and people making, statements against the co-defendants and things like that. People telling, you can document, you can see the paperwork. But in prison, even though they do that too with like, DRs or whatever, for the most part, it's just like word of mouth hearsay. But one thing about prison, bro, and man, people tell about everything, dog, and they're telling for nothing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who are in prison and jail, and they're trying to tell, whether it be to the feds or outside, law enforcement, or people in the county jail fighting cases, trying to get their time back or get time off or cooperate with the police. And they're telling with, I guess, incentive, they're being rewarded for it, trying to shake some time or get out early or whatever. But you'd be surprised the amount of people in prison and jail that is tell just because they're haters, or they're just snitches into the core of their bone. They're mad that somebody's got a phone, or they're messing with this officer, and people just be telling left and right, dropping kites, telling staff members, dry snitching. Man, it's rampant. And it's even more so rampant in prison just because it's such a secluded community and environment. And man, people just be bored and they just love drama, dog. There's so much drama in politics in prison. It's crazy. But of course, that stuff follows you. There's consequences behind it. But the reality is, it happens. It's prevalent. And the reason why you don't see escapes like this on the regular or more common, this is super rare, is because, dog, people tell. Like, I was surprised even when I heard the news that, these 10 people and they escaped together, because they probably all were a part of it somewhere, allegedly, this is my assumption, some way or another, they probably all knew about it and partook in it and planned it. And I guess even one of the staff members, one of the officers or somebody who worked at the jail, he's now being accused and he was arrested for helping them escape. So the fact that nobody said anything was shocking to me, because I'm thinking that one of these people, whenever they're figuring out that everyone's going to escape, and I'm pretty sure this is a max custody pod and they're probably like awaiting prison time, and they probably all got big bids. Once again, I don't know this to be sure, or they're facing big time, but I'm assuming that's the case, Because if you're short timing, why the heck would you want to escape? Because I know in the state of Florida, if you escape, it's 5 years mandatory, so why would you even want to jeopardize that unless you're facing a lot of time? So the fact that nobody snitched, was shocking to me. They all were committed. They all, kept it solid. No one said nothing and they all escaped. So I just wanted to share that perspective with y'all. The reason why you never really hear about people escaping. Number one, just the difficulty of it. But also too, man, you'd be surprised whenever I personally probably remember about on 2 or 3 occasions throughout 12 years in prison. Wasn't that common, but I do remember people dropping kites on other convicts about them planning to escape. Whether it was just because they were trying to get them out the pound or wanted to get them under investigation or just hating on them for whatever reason, or if it was true and they were trying to get some time shaved off or trying to get some type of brownie points from the officers and whatever it may be, so the fact that nobody told before it happened was shocking. And that's the reason why you don't see a lot of escapes, because surprisingly, in prison and jail, there's not much unity. There it can be to a degree, but there's just so much division, not only because of politics and gang politics, but man, there's a lot of people in there telling, bro. That's just what it is, man. You'd be surprised how many people get knocked off with phones, with drugs, messing with officers, just because, man, everybody's in there telling. Not, of course, everybody, but there's a lot of people telling, man. That's just the reality of it. So, to my knowledge, I believe there's still 4 or 5 people on the run. They're catching people, left and right. So this is what's going on in New Orleans and the escape. So once again, man, the ultimate call to action. First of all, man, as you already know, this channel is primarily focusing on the redemptive stories of convicts coming home, overcoming their past lifestyle of crime, and now just becoming and being everything God intended them to be, leaving that past street lifestyle alone. So we like to champion the redemption stories. If you don't know my story, I did over 12 years in prison. As I was incarcerated, man, I authentically encountered Jesus and he radically transformed my life. But of course, too, on this channel, man, I keep it very raw, authentic, and I share the full scope and the full experience of prison. Good, bad, funny, goofy, crazy, weird, everything about it. Violent, wild, escapes, everything. So all prison content related. So, this is what's taking place right here, man. So y'all keep following the content, bro. I'll keep giving y'all updates with the situation. Once again, man, it's your boy, the King. And y'all stay tuned. This is the Incarceration Podcast.
If you didn't know, I am a rapper. My artist name is the King. Check out my music on all streaming platforms. Go to my other YouTube channel, the King. Check out my music videos. And I'm also releasing a documentary all year. It's really a docu-series. And every Wednesday, I drop a new video. As we've been documenting my transition home from prison and society, from the day of my release, we had a film crew at the gate just documenting my transition home from prison, now in society. Check it out on one of these links above.